smell the pitch and feel the timbers grain. Hear the iron ringing, hammered in the rain. We build the ark against the riding tide. We build the ark with nowhere left to hide.
The vision had shaken them all, but none of them was willing to act on emotion alone.
My hands are trained
For
for
weeks,
blueprints, not for
the seven
counting what is
friends
lost.
prayed and
Can we
fasted,
truly bend
seeking
the
one
laws that
answer
hold the
above
stars in
all
place?
else.
Or is
Was
this
this
just my
truly
own
from
desire
God?
I see reflected in
As
your
they
face?
waited,
The healer
each
worries
heart
about the
faced
wounded on
its
this
own
uncharted
battle.
sea.
Naledi
Is faith the
feared
reckless
sacrificing
substitute for
the
honest
engineering
certainty?
career she had
So we
worked
test
so
the
hard to
spirit
build.
of the impulse
Nyasha
before we
wrestled
trade our
with
earthly
reason,
maps for this
convinced
divine
that
compass.
teleportation
We'll wait until the
technology
truth is
belonged
clearer
only
than
in
the
fiction.
morning haze.
Ion questioned her own mind, wondering if she had imagined everything. Anazia stared at the overwhelming cost, unsure how such a mission could ever be funded. Tangani struggled with the thought of leaving medicine for a future filled with uncertainty. Through every discussion, Shinsumo reminded them that genuine faith never abandons wisdom. And David stood firm, urging everyone to obey scripture by testing every spirit instead of blindly following a vision. United in purpose, they made one solemn decision. They would not take a single step until God himself confirmed the path before them.
Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Still, the seven friends refused to move ahead on emotion alone. They prayed, they fasted, they searched the scriptures. If the vision truly came from God, they believed he would confirm it in his perfect time. Then, without warning, confirmation came. It was an ordinary afternoon in the heart of Johannesburg. The streets were alive with people rushing home, taxis sounding their horns, children laughing, and traders calling out to passing crowds. For a brief moment, everything seemed normal. Then a single argument erupted. Angry voices rose above the noise of the city. One shove became another. Fear spread through the crowd like wildfire. People began running in every direction. Panic replaced peace. Within seconds, strangers turned against one another. Windows shattered. Sirens echoed through the streets. Parents desperately searched for their children. The seven friends stood frozen. Their hearts sank. Every sight, every sound, every cry looked hauntingly familiar. It was the very scene they had witnessed in their shared vision. The dream was no longer just a dream. Without hesitation, they sprang into action. Ion helped an elderly man who had fallen to the pavement. Tangeni treated a young woman whose arm had been injured in the chaos. David guided frightened children into a nearby church. Anesia cleared a safe path through the crowd. Nyasha contacted emergency services and directed people away from danger. David spoke words of peace, calming those overwhelmed by fear. Shisomo gathered frightened families and prayed with them until the violence subsided. As quickly as it had begun, the unrest came to an end. The streets slowly grew quiet once more, but something had changed forever. That evening, each friend returned home alone. None of them called one another. None of them discussed what had happened. Yet, one after another, they opened their Bibles. Without searching, their eyes were drawn to passages calling God's people to prepare before times of trouble. Though the verses differed, the message was unmistakably the same. Prepare, trust, obey. When they met again the following morning, silence filled the room. No one needed to explain. They simply looked into one another's eyes and knew. The confirmation they had been praying for had come. The time for waiting had become the time for building. The ark would no longer remain a vision. It would become a reality.
Silence settled over the room once again. The confirmation had come. There was no longer any doubt. Now, they needed a plan. Ion quietly reached into her bag and unfolded a large sheet of paper across the worn wooden table. Everyone leaned closer. Without saying a word, she picked up a pencil. The room fell completely silent. The only sound was the soft crackle of candlelight. Its tip touched the page. She began drawing. Not a bunker, not a military base, a city. A place where children could laugh without fear, where gardens could bloom beneath the earth, where church bells could ring with songs of hope instead of sirens of panic, where people from every nation could live side by side as one family, stroke after stroke, line after line. The vision slowly came to life. Homes, schools, hospitals, prayer halls, libraries, workshops, parks, hydroponic gardens. Wide streets filled with light, not merely a place to survive, but a place to live. The 7 friends watched in amazement as the blueprint grew before their eyes. Every tunnel, every pathway, every building looked remarkably similar to the city they had all seen in their shared vision. Then Ayan broke the silence. What if, she said thoughtfully, this city isn't our only refuge? The room turned toward her. She stepped beside the blueprint and spread out a map of South Africa. With her pencil, she marked a series of small circles across the country. We could build hidden safe houses throughout South Africa. Everyone leaned in closer. Before anyone could respond, Nyasha spoke. His eyes sparkled with excitement. What if those safe houses could all be connected? The room grew quiet. Nyasha picked up another pencil and carefully drew lines connecting each safe house to the Ark. One day, he said, teleportation technology could allow people to travel instantly between every safe house and the Ark. For a moment, no one said a word. Then the room erupted with joyful laughter. Tanjeni smiled and shook his head. It's impossible. Nyasha looked up from the blueprint. A quiet smile spread across his face. So was Noah's Ark. The laughter slowly faded. Silence returned. Not a silence of doubt, but one of wonder. Because deep inside, every one of them knew God has always specialized in doing what people call impossible.
The blueprint was complete. The vision had been confirmed. The path ahead was clear. But before a single stone could be laid, before a single tunnel could be carved into the earth, the 7 friends knew something even more important had to be built. Their hearts. They returned to the quiet university chapel. The wooden table stood where it always had. At its center rested the worn Bible that had guided them from the beginning. One by one, they stepped forward, without a word. Each placed a hand upon the Holy Scriptures. No one spoke carelessly. No one rushed the moment. They understood that they were making a promise not only to one another, but before God himself. Tanjeni spoke first. Never will we use the Ark for power. The others answered softly, we promise. Ayan continued. Never will we refuse anyone because of nationality. Again they replied, we promise. Nyasha lifted his eyes. Never will we charge people for safety. Once more they answered, we promise. Anizia took a deep breath. Never will we seek revenge. Their voices echoed through the chapel. We promise. Naledi spoke with quiet conviction. We will protect the vulnerable. We promise. David looked around the circle before saying, we will tell the truth, even when it costs us everything. The response came stronger than before. We promise. The chapel fell silent. Only the gentle flicker of candlelight illuminated the room. Then Chisomo slowly opened a brand new leather-bound journal. Its pages were blank, waiting. He picked up a fountain pen. Carefully, deliberately, he wrote the very first sentence. The Ark exists because every human being bears the image of God. He laid the journal upon the table, without hesitation. Anizia signed her name, then Ayan, David, Nyasha, Tanjeni, Naledi, finally, Chisomo. 7 signatures, 1 covenant, 1 mission. The journal closed with a gentle sound. It was more than ink on paper. It was a sacred promise. A promise that would guide every decision, every sacrifice, and every life the Ark would one day save.
Night settled gently over Johannesburg. The lights of the city shimmered beneath a sky filled with countless stars. Far from the noise, far from the crowds, 7 friends stood together on a quiet hill overlooking the city they loved. A cool breeze swept across the grass. No one spoke. There were no speeches, no applause, only silence and unwavering faith. Far below them lay an empty stretch of land. To everyone else, it was nothing more than ordinary ground. But to them, it was the birthplace of a promise, a place where hope would one day rise beneath the earth, a place where strangers would become family, a place where fear would give way to peace. Slowly, Tanjeni stepped forward. He looked across the land one final time. Then he quietly knelt. Beside him rested a single shovel. He wrapped both hands around its wooden handle. Without saying a word, he lifted it. For a brief moment, time itself seemed to stand still. Then, with quiet determination, he drove the blade into the earth.
Clang! The sound of metal striking the ground echoed through the stillness of the night. One by one, Ian stepped forward. Then Anasia, David, Nyasha, Naledi, finally Chisomo. Together they placed their hands upon the shovel. Not as 7 individuals, but as one family, one vision, one calling. The camera slowly rose into the night sky, higher and higher, until the 7 friends became small silhouettes beneath the stars, standing over the place where the Ark would one day be built. The echo of metal striking the earth lingered in the darkness. Then the screen faded to black. On-screen scripture, open quote, "Faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." James 2 verse 17, close quote, end of post-credit scene. Quiet, suspenseful, elsewhere, across the city, the fluorescent lights of a government intelligence office flickered against rows of computer screens. Most employees had already gone home, but one intelligence analyst remained at his desk. His eyes narrowed as he studied a growing list of unusual transactions. 7 university students, from different faculties, different backgrounds, yet all had made remarkably similar purchases. Engineering textbooks, architectural plans, geological surveys, electrical equipment, large quantities of construction materials, over several months. The analyst leaned back in his chair. Something wasn't right. He picked up a red marker. One by one, he circled the 7 names on the file. The room fell silent. He stared at the page for a long moment. Then, almost to himself, he whispered, "They're building something." The camera lingered on the file. Fade to black, to be
Glad you stopped by my little corner of the web. Feels good to see your face here in the space. Letting go of all the static in between, 'cause your presence really means the world. If you wanna ride these waves, hit subscribe and feel free to leave a comment or a like. Every little echo makes us feel more alive. Yeah, I'm just thankful for this connection. Thankful for this connection.